Kay Wilson.
Thank you, Marge.
Thank you, sweetie.
Well, good morning. The first time that I speak anywhere, the first thing I like to say is namaste. Namaste. The spirit within me greets, recognizes, and honors the spirit within all of you. The human spirit is absolutely magnificent. It can overcome incredible odds, incredible wounds, incredible journeys,
Oh, there we go.
incredible physical logistics, with grace and aplomb. So all of us have that within us too. When we look at that magnificent human spirit, we have to remember we have that within us as well. And I got to tell you something, Earth School ain't easy. It is not easy to be a spirit having a human experience. This is all very challenging. Part of Earth School is forging ourselves in the fires of our challenges, forging ourselves through those challenges. And we forge our spirit every time we meet and face a challenge with grace and dignity and courage. Every time we do, we grow. So Earth School ain't easy, but it's worth it, because this is exactly where we're supposed to be to learn the lessons. And you'll find that life will present you with the very next lesson for your best opportunity for growth. Right here and now, whatever's challenging you, it's an opportunity for your growth. So I talk about fear and how to overcome fear. I do it with my clients. I do it also with the inmates who I am privileged to serve, these wounded individuals who end up incarcerated. And they are so thirsty for a message of hope and for someone to come in and let them know that they are worthy of love and happiness in spite of anything they may have done. Because remember, we are not our experiences. We are not the things we have done in the past. We are bigger than that, always. So we are not defined by the past. And we have, at this moment, right here and right now, always an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. We can be the thing that we want to be. We can reinvent ourselves several times. I myself have gone through several incarnations. And that opportunity to reinvent ourselves is part of the greatest gift, which is choice. Unbelievable gift that is choice. So I found a book a while ago called The Places That Scare You. What a lovely title. It's by Pema Chodron. And the subtitle is A Guide to Fearlessness in Difficult Times. Now, one of my friends looked at this book and she said, only Kay Wilson would buy a book like this, The Places That Scare You. And it's in the Buddhist tradition, which I was unfamiliar with before because I was kind of raised in the wisdom tradition of Christianity. And so I opened my heart to Buddhism and I started to read this because I was so intrigued by the title. And one of the things she talks about, she was a student of Chogyam Trungpa. Some of you may know who that is. And she is a Buddhist nun and was the abbess at Gampo Abbey up in Nova Scotia. So she herself is a spiritual warrior, someone who has the courage to come to this plane and do the work of working on self. And that's what we're here to do. And one of the things she says that really scares us is impermanence. You know, that old saying, nothing stays the same except change. And we don't like impermanence because we want comfort. We want to be comfortable. It's part of the human condition. But there's only one way to grow, and that is through the fires of challenges. That discomfort, we can almost reframe discomfort as, I'm uncomfortable. I must be growing. Yay! Isn't this going to be fun? Another growth opportunity from God. Thank you. But truly, you know, there's three stages of living. There's birth and growth, there's stagnation, and then there's death or decay. We want to be in growth. That's where we want to be. And that necessarily means that we have to come out of our comfort zone. And there's all ways that people talk about this, and you've heard it all before. I know you have. That discomfort really is the birthplace of growth and of forging ourselves into what we want to be. But fear is really pervasive in our culture and probably in other cultures too. We see it in the media, in the news. We hear about crimes and destruction and the global warming. We hear about terrorism. We hear about missing kids and mayhem. But I want to remind you, when you watch the news, first of all, watching the news is a choice. You can also read the news. And when you read the news, you have a better ability to control your emotive state. But when you watch the news, which is very powerful because symbols and images go right into our subconscious. But when you watch the news and you hear the negativity, always remember, for every one murder, there are billions every day, billions of acts of courage, of kindness, of goodness, of charity, people stopping on the side of the road to help, people giving someone the right of way, people lending a little bit of money to someone who needs it, a friend comforting, millions and billions of acts every day, but we don't hear about them. So the news is disproportionate, and yet it has a bigger play in our landscape of our minds than a lot of other things. So we have to be very careful about what we let into our mind, because where your mind spends its time is where your future will align. Where your mind spends its time is where your future will align. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about fear because, I had anxiety about coming to speak today, which is funny because I'm an expert speaker. I've been a National Speakers Association member. But I had worry about it, and I laughed. The minute I figured that out, I laughed because it's just so perfect, right? When I first found out about reincarnation, I started worrying about my next life. Okay? Where am I going to be born? Is it going to be Mumbai? Am I going to have food? Will I be a male or a female? What will happen? Right? It's crazy pants. And then I said to myself, wait a minute. What am I doing worrying about my next life? Then I started to think, no, I'm going to jinx my next life. So not only did I worry about my next life, then I worried about the worry. Have you ever done that? Where you feel bad, and then you feel bad about feeling bad. Now, the reason for this is because now a lot of us know about metaphysics, right? We know about prosperity. We know about how things manifest. We know that thoughts can become things, right? That's why we worry about the worry. But here's the thing to master. These fleeting thoughts or occasional worry thoughts will not create what you are worried about them creating. Really, it's the sum average of where we live in our mental landscape that's what will produce what we get. So if on average you're a happy person, you have gratitude, you feel good, you're productive, you put yourself out there, and you occasionally have a worry thought, that worry thought is not going to manifest. But you see, we worry about the worry because we know about metaphysics. And the truth of the matter is that at any time, we can change our thought and move a muscle. We can change what we're thinking. If you have any really strong negative emotion, the most powerful thing you can do is to be true to yourself, to thine own self be true. What does that mean? It means have the self-honesty to name the emotion. The only way we can tame it or reframe it is if we first identify it, which means name it. So that's step number one. Be true to yourself and name your emotion. The second thing that we need to do is make friends with our fear. Okay? And I'm going to tell you what that means. That's one of the concepts that Pema Chodron talks about. When I first heard that, make friends with your fear, I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't like my fear. I don't want to have fear. I want to stuff it down until I can't feel it anymore. And you think about all the ways that people stuff it down or try to obliterate fear. The drinking, the drugging, the eating, everything that our culture encourages, instead of actually feeling what we're supposed to feel. So number one is you name that fear. I'm feeling sadness, or I'm feeling anxious, or that's a feeling of fear. You name it. Now how do you honor it? The second thing is you honor it by making friends with it. You actually allow yourself to feel it. To feel the feelings of whatever you're feeling. Doesn't have to be forever, folks. but you feel it long enough so that you really feel all the corners and boundaries of what that feeling is. And then the third thing, you form the intention to shift that fear to a place of courage. You form the intention to shift that fear to a place of courage. All right? And a good way to do that is through a breathing meditation where you breathe in love and courage and you breathe out fear and anxiety. You do it over and over again and you repeat it. Breathing is a very meditative way to lock in a thought or release something you don't want, to let it go. And I know you did a breathing exercise today, it's just a very important part. The other thing to do is to think about journaling. Journal your feelings, because when you write something down, you express it, you exercise it, and you get it out. Some people think, oh, I don't want to write it down because then it's permanent. No. Journaling is an exorcism. It gets it out of you and onto paper and away from you. And that way you can move through it. So I remember when I was very young, I actually was severely bullied as a child. And I had to wear a back brace because I have scoliosis, and they discovered it when I was in 4th grade, which is a perfect time to put a back brace on a child. Gee, I'm popular. Look at me, I'm different. But, through all the bullying, it came to a point. I read this quote one day. It said, "Be bold, and mighty forces shall come to your aid." Now, I was in 5th grade when I read that. I had been reading The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. I was a little ahead of my time in reading. And that was how I got some looks like, what? But I had, basically by 6th grade, I was at a high school reading level, senior level. So, but I got away from what I didn't feel comfortable with and my fears and my sadness by reading. And the reading was transportive. And when I read "Be bold and mighty forces shall come to your aid," it made me realize that the universe was on my side if I showed some courage. If you show courage, the universe will match you. Equal matching, if not more. So I remember reading that, and then I thought, you know what? Maybe this brace isn't just a brace. Maybe it's also armor, like the knights in shining armor. And I thought to myself, like them, I'm going to be courageous. I'm going to have honor, and I'm going to have value and character. And I'm going to meet my circumstances head on. So the next day in school, I saw one of my tormentors coming down the hall. He was alone this time, not in his group. So I thought, this will be fun. I'm going to look right at him and see what he does. So we're walking and we're passing. And I'm looking at him, and looking at him. He never once looked at me. He looked down. Aha, really not so bold when you're all alone, are you? That was a formative moment. That was when I realized that every group is composed of individuals. Okay? Any room you walk into is a room full of individuals. Spirits like you on a journey, on a path. So we have to put ourselves out into the currents of life in order to get the currents to come back our way. And that's a very important thing to remember. You got to circulate to percolate, ladies. And part of that is overcoming our fear and our reticence about putting ourselves out into new situations. Because when we do that, we're signaling to the universe that we're bold. And those mighty forces will come to our aid. Very important. I think of there as being kind of like a courage continuum. It's kind of like any bell curve that starts off kind of flat and then goes up into a curve and then comes down. And at the upper part, the upper 20% is the people that put on retreats, that stick themselves out into the world, that try to make things happen, that try to help others, that don't get mired in their fears. They may have them, but they don't let them stop. And then at the very bottom end are the people that live in fear. They let their fears stop them. They become agoraphobic. They stay home. They don't put themselves in circulation. And then the rest of us are kind of somewhere in the middle, maybe leading quiet lives of desperation. Here's the truth. You do not have to make a big, hairy, audacious goal every day. When I first heard that term, big, hairy, audacious goal, I was like, oh, really? More pressure now, really? What you have to do is think about the 10% rule. So if wherever you are on this continuum, 10% more. Just 10%. You can do that. 10% more effort, 10% more courage, 10% more putting yourself into circulation, 10% more asking for the business, 10% more raising your fees. 10%. And over time, if you do that every day, boy, does that aggregate. That aggregates fast. Just a little bit, 10%. That's the 10% rule. Now, we've talked about fear being so pervasive. But I also think we need to focus on the fact that there's a lot of joy in life, too. There's a lot of places where there is goodness and kindness and honor. And I like to talk about positive optimism and intelligent optimism, where, you know, we don't deny that bad things happen. Like some people say, oh, everything's good, it's all good. No, it's not. There are some bad things in the world. You know, I can't think of anything good about a child getting cancer or anyone getting cancer. I can't think about anything good about terrorism. But I can think that good can come out of bad depending on how we meet it. How do we meet our circumstances? Because remember I said, the very next challenge you face is designed for your next stage of growth. So the intelligent optimist does not deny that bad things happen. Instead, he or she steps up, shows character, helps others to show their character. There's two ways we can use our power in this world, really. We can enhance others, or we can diminish them. And you'll know when you've been diminished or bullied or put down or had someone pull rank on you, social rank or class rank, status rank of any kind. You'll know that when you feel it. Diminishment is to put down. But enhancement is to reflect back to others their basic goodness, their basic humanity, to reflect back to them their talents and abilities and skills, to help them see their own wisdom that they already have right here and now. And worthiness. Worthiness is not something that comes when your thighs are thin and your hair is perfect and you've got the right zeros after the number in your bank account. Worthiness happens as a choice in this moment, right here and now. And I say to you this, the world is waiting to hear from you. Every one of us has a message. And each of us is called to bring our talents and our abilities and our passions to the world. Because you know what? This is our world. We are not outsiders. This is our world. And the time is now for us to come forward and show our talents. And why not? Why not now? Everything that's created is created in the present moment. Just like everything that you've been thinking about from the past has come to define and create this moment. And now we're in this moment, and you've been doing work to create what comes next. So focus on the present moment. It's all we have. And remember that gratitude. The personal leadership is about leading yourself through difficulties. It's kind of like that, you know, help yourself first before you put the mask on the other person next to you. It's the same idea. Personal leadership comes before any kind of outward leadership. And that comes from emotional intelligence, and it comes from courage. Courage is the foundation upon which all the other virtues mount. Every virtue that there is depends on courage. Does it take courage to be honest? You betcha. Does it take courage to show up and be counted? Stand up for what's right? Yes. That courage can be cultivated. So remember, wherever you are on the continuum of courage, give yourself 10% more. And remember this, you were born to serve the world through your talents. And your talents will typically show you and point you in the direction of your purpose. And it's okay for you to have fear, but you got to face it and transform it and reframe it. And as you lead yourself, you will find that you are inspiring others to do the same. It does not serve the world for you to dim your light so that someone else might feel better. It doesn't serve the world. This is Marianne Williamson. She talks about this. Don't dim your light to try to not outshine anyone, or shine your light so that others may learn to shine theirs. That's what we're here to do. And if you feel a little worried or fear or anxiety about doing the next step, do it anyway. Remember Mother Teresa and her paradoxical commandments? She said, you will find that people are difficult and confusing and sometimes really terrible, but love them anyway. She said that you will find that if you succeed, some people might be envious, some people might be false friends. Succeed anyway. You may find that you give yourself to the world and you don't get thanked. Do it anyway. That's the key. We got to do it anyway, because this is our time right now. And what happens next in this world and Team Gaia depends on us. It's all hands on deck. So push through your fears and make your voice count. Every one of you matters. So, namaste.